My name is Liz Partsch.
And I'm Paul Rowley.
And welcome to Farm & Dairy's virtual newsletter,
where we'll be giving you a rundown of all the news this week.
Yes, so I wrote about two stories that kind of work in tandem together on the same issue.
Oh, yeah?
It's about Ohio's voter-approved Issue 2 statute, which legalized recreational cannabis in Ohio in November 2023. So there's been a lot of updates since that.
Yeah.
So since August 2024, when recreational dispensaries opened up, Ohio marijuana sales have topped 340 million. So that's, quite a large number.
Yeah,
but industry advocates say the cannabis industry is currently being held back. And new bills that are currently proposed could further these problems. So there are currently two proposed cannabis-related bills in Ohio, Senate Bill 56 and House Bill 160, which aim to clarify license requirements and rules, also like protect kids from marijuana and stop the sale of intoxicating hemp products, also known as Delta 8, which are currently sold at gas stations.
I've seen those before.
Yes, they're very big and unregulated.
Okay.
But many industry advocates state the licensing requirements in the bills are too restrictive, which could lead to higher prices, driving people to buy off the black market illegally. Or, even driving to Michigan, which is so close.
Oh, right.
And some are even saying that that's already happening, that people are already, not going to the regulated market. Even more so than this, legislation proposes stricter criminal penalties on home growers and consumers. So it would, prohibit the sharing of homegrown cannabis. It would also have strict requirements on how you can transport cannabis. And then it sets more criminal penalties on driving under the influence. Which, has to be regulated. But, one of my sources put it really well. She said, Ohio voters expected to see a reduction in penalties, and we're seeing an increase. So she was a little concerned about that, it seems, from her side of things.
Yeah.
So the second story kind of works in tandem with that. It's about Issue 2, but more of a different side of it. So, after the passing, we've seen a lot of a new agricultural movement in Ohio that hasn't been seen in centuries.
Right.
It's the cultivation of homegrown cannabis.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Johnny Lutz, professionally known as Johnny Cannabis, is one of these home growers that is spearheading this movement.
I love that name.
Johnny Cannabis, yeah. He hosts Ohio farmers markets across the state, which is a space where Ohio residents can learn how to grow.
Oh, neat.
And they can also buy tools and equipment. So it's really a space where they, can learn this craft. Lutz describes growing cannabis almost as like a gateway into agriculture. It gets people in the community introduced to some aspect of agriculture, which he has even said has led him to grow his own food and stuff.
Wow.
So since his farmers markets began in February 2024, he has seen a huge turnout and says that about 90% of the people that end up going to his events are first-time growers looking to know more.
Wow.
So, But Lutz is concerned that the proposed rules in House Bill 160 and Senate Bill 56 could discourage people from cultivating cannabis at home.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, some of the homegrown restrictions that were added. So he put it really well to me by saying, true legalization comes when everybody has access to the plant, not just corporations that want to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an apt observation from him.
Yeah. More than, so he could, grow like tomatoes, right?
Yeah, right.
Some,
I'll have to check this story out.
But
well, I have kind of a bummer of a story. From our staff, I'm reporting on a case that is out of Athens, Ohio this week. Two Mississippi men have actually pleaded guilty to a string of wildlife violations involving the illegal poaching of white-tailed deer. So according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and Division of Wildlife, Dawson Brown is 25 and Jace Smith, 24. They're both from Poplarville, Mississippi. They've been convicted of multiple charges following this really long, apparently, investigation into unlawful hunting activities that they were a part of across Belmont and Muskingum counties. Authorities, they seized a couple of things from them of note, including like a crossbow, spotlights, and multiple deer skulls. So this was like a big operation. They were doing this for a while. Both men will lose their hunting rights in Ohio for about 3 years, I think. And they've also now been entered into this system. It's called the Interstate Wildlife Violator Compact. It's a really long name. It means that they'll likely lose their hunting privileges in the other 47 states as well are part of this, including their home state of Mississippi for another 3 years or so. So it's a pretty serious thing.
Yeah, make sure you follow the rules, I guess.
I guess, right? Yeah. The Ohio Division of Wildlife is also reminding the public that wildlife crimes can be reported anonymously through a tip line. That is the Turn in a Poacher hotline, and the number is 1-800-POACHER. So you just find that on your dial pad. Tips that lead to convictions may also lead to a reward for the person that reports them.
Nice. Well, turn in, people that are doing bad stuff, I guess, right? Yeah. That's the lesson from that story.
That's right.
Yeah, well, Ohioans might not be happy about this, but cicadas will be emerging in Ohio this year, according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Forestry.
Get your earplugs.
Yes. So brood 14 cicadas will emerge when the soil reaches a temperature of 64 degrees.
Oh.
Yeah, this is typically in like mid-May, and they will stay for roughly 3 to 4 weeks as they mate. So, these cicadas, they live underground as nymphs for 13 to 17 years before emerging in large numbers.
Right.
And as we know, cicadas are notorious for their screeching songs of beauty, right?
Yeah.
Songs of beauty. Just
well
kidding.
Said, yeah.
Screeching sounds emanated by the males to attract females. So counties will see those cicadas. The counties that will see those cicadas include Hamilton, Claremont, Brown, Adams, Sakota, Lawrence, Gallia, Butler, Warren, Clinton, Highland, Ross, Pike, Jackson, Washington, Green, and Champaign.
Wow, that's a long list.
Long list.
Yeah.
And it was, hard to get through, I guess. But yeah, so lots of counties will see the cicadas emerge this year.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I've got some more news on wildlife, and unfortunately, it's not very good or cool as cicadas coming out of the ground. From our friends at the AP, there was a major news study that has revealed a troubling trend in the skies above America's meadows and gardens and all kinds of these bucolic places that we love so much. Butterfly populations across the continental United States are on the decline by as much as about 22% right now over the last 2 decades is how long they've been measuring this. That's 1 in every 5 butterflies gone between the years 2000 and 2020, which is like crazy to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? The findings come from this comprehensive study, or its analysis rather, led by the U.S. Geological Survey's Powell Center. It was recently published in the journal Science, and this research reviewed data on all of these butterfly species, almost 400. I think it was like 340 something. It found widespread losses across all of them in nearly every region and every species group. Just kind of mind-boggling, including for the researchers. Nearly 1/3 of butterfly species that they studied declined by more than half, and some by as much as 90%. They saw numbers drop off that high.
Wow, it's almost an entire population.
Literally,
extinct.
Yeah. Only 9 species showed any progress or bumping up in their numbers at all. One surprising example is a species called the West Coast lady. They say, or scientists say, that they should have every advantage in the book. Like they've got a broad habitat range, varied diet, like they should be thriving. But instead, their population plummeted by 80% in the course of the study. Butterflies are obviously more than just gorgeous. They play a critical role in our ecosystems as pollinators and also as herbivores. And they're also indicators of broader environmental health. So when your butterflies are doing good, everything else is too. Because they're easy to observe and track for researchers, the folks behind this study, they said that butterfly trends can actually reflect similar declines in other insect species as well. So we really want our butterflies to do well, and it's concerning that they're not. So what's causing this drop? You're going to have to read the article to find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go read that article. I mean,
I know, now.
Save the butterflies, like all the pollinators for that matter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's with me too. Well, here at Farm and Dairy, we always want to do our part. Do you actually know, and this is new for me, that your issue of Farm and Dairy is 100% recyclable and compostable?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
I know.
Look at us.
Right?
That's what companies should be doing.
Heck
right?
yeah. We use soy-based ink in all of our issues, which is really cool. And when you're not reading about changes to Ohio's cannabis laws or deer poachers or butterfly decline, there are some really fun and functional ways that you can repurpose your paper for the greater good, and at least for the environment, So some ideas you're actually going to find this week are outlined in our auction section by Kimberly Siebold, one of our very own and fine writers. For gardeners, you can shed your old newspaper and toss it in the compost pile, and that will help with the processes there. Mm-hmm. You can also line your flower beds with a Farm and Dairy copy.
Great wallpaper.
Yeah. Or helping to block weeds when you're like putting mulch down and stuff.
Yeah.
So that really helps with that. You can do gift wrapping with the Farm and Dairy. If you've never thought of that before, I do it every Christmas. And there's just all kinds of like fun things you can do. On your next camping trip, set it on fire.
Let it burn.
Or just pass your copy along to a friend and neighbor.
Responsibly burn.
Yeah, responsibly.
Responsibly burn it.
Yeah. Sharing is caring, so let your neighbors know what you're reading this week.
Yeah.
And with that is our top stories for the week.
To read the full stories, go to farmanddairy.com or find your local newsstand.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.